Hi everyone, myself Umesh R, Assistant Professor in Commerce and Management. I have about 12 years of experience in teaching to commerce and management students. Today, I will be discussing on the concept of customs duty. Let us start our discussion about the customs duty with a brief introduction. The term customs duty has two words. One is custom and another one is a duty. A custom is a course of action that is observed and repeated in the like circumstances. So, the term customs indicates any action that is being learned by a person through observation and repetition of the same action in the similar circumstances, similar situations are called customs. The second one, duty. A duty is a kind of a tax levied by the central government on goods, services, and certain commercial transactions. So, a duty means it is a part of a taxation system used by a government to collect revenues. ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. What makes the difference between a tax and a duty? The term tax is actually denotes a financial obligation on a person, whereas the term duty represents fees to be paid by a person on goods, services, and transactions that he executes. So to conclude, a tax is a financial obligation, whereas a duty is a fees paid towards goods, services, and certain transactions. To combine these two words called customs and duty, the term customs duty will be defined as a tax levied on all such transactions that involves movement of goods across international geographical borders. See, the term customs duty is a tax levied on any transaction that involves the movement of goods across the international borders. Here, across the international border means by crossing the geographical border of one country to another country. Entry of a goods by crossing the geographical limits of one nation to another nation will be called across international geographical borders. And these transactions are usually referred as import and exports. So, the term customs duty means it is a tax levied on a transaction involving the movement of goods from one country to another country in the form of imports and exports. This is what the term customs duty means. To conclude about the customs duty, I can easily and simply say that customs duty is a tax levied on goods brought into India in the form of import and goods taken out of India in the form of exports through air, land, and waterways. This is about the meaning of customs duty. So after knowing about the meaning of customs duty, now let us move on to the next concept called source of customs law. The term source of customs law represents a combination of various acts, enactments, rules, notifications, regulations, and circulars that are being followed in the present day while determining the customs duty payable by an importer or an exporter. That is called source of customs law. In the present day, the customs duty determination is as per the certain provisions specified in Customs Act of 1962, Customs Tariff Act of 1975, rules and regulations of Customs Act under section 156 and 157, notifications under Customs Act, circulars by Central Board for Indirect Taxes and Customs. Before I discuss about these acts, first let me give a brief introduction about the historical development of Customs Act in India. The concept of customs duty was not of a recent origin. The practice of paying the customs duty was existed even during ancient time, where kings and queens are ruling a particular geographical territories. During the period of king and queen, the traders, merchants practiced a system called offering gift to the king or queen to get a permission for trading in their territories. The practice of offering gift to the king or queen to get permission became custom duty in the later days. In the year 1786, Britishers constituted a revenue board in Calcutta, which is the first formal organization established to collect customs duty in India. The first formal organization which was established in India to collect customs duty is in the year 1786 by the Britishers, called Board of Revenues. Later, in the year 1878, Sea Customs Act was passed, and thereafter some number of years have been exhausted, and then in the year 1894, Indian Tariff Act came into existence. During the year 1911, air customs was covered by Indian Aircraft Act, and in the year 1924, Land Customs Act was passed. In the year 1934, Indian Customs Act was passed. These are few act and enactment which were being followed in India with respect to the determination of customs duty before independence. Just to recall them, 1786, a board for revenues in Karnataka. 1878, Sea Customs Act. 1894, Indian Tariff Act. 1911, Air Customs. 1924, Land Customs Act. 1934, Indian Customs Act. These are few act and enactment which were practiced before independence. After the independence, that is after 1947, all the above act and enactment that I have discussed were consolidated, and two major acts came into existence called Indian Customs Act of 1962 and Indian Tariff Act of 1975. Indian Customs Act of 1962 contains provisions relating to imports, exports, baggage treatment, prohibitions on importation and exportation of goods and services, procedures to be followed for warehousing of imported or exported goods, duty drawbacks, appeals, offences under the Customs Act, and the penalties to be levied in case of any offences. So Customs Act of 1962 ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಕೆಲವೊಂದಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ relating to what procedure is to be followed for import or export of goods. I cannot import or export as I wish. ನನಗಿಷ್ಟ ಬಂದ ಹಾಗೆ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕಾಗ್ಲಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. I have been forced to follow the procedure laid down in the Customs Act of 1962. So Customs Act of 1962 ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಹೇಗೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೇಷನ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಏನು, ಇಫ್ ಎನಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇಸ್ ಅರೈವಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಕಂಪನೈಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಹಿಮ್, ಅವನ ಜೊತೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬ್ಯಾಗೇಜ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಅದರ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು. ವೆನ್ ದಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್, ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ಡ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರೆನ್ಸ್, ಒಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಯರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಎತ್ತಿಟ್ಟಿರಬೇಕು, ಕೂಡಿಟ್ಟಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಸ್ ಪರ್ ದಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ತಪ್ಪುಗಳು, ಆ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳಿಗೆ ಏನು ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ 1962 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ದಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್, Customs Tariff Act of 1975. It is another major act that provides a basis for the determination of customs duty in India. After the Customs Act of 1962, Customs Tariff Act occupies the major position in the determination of customs duty. Why? Because the Customs Tariff Act has provisions relating to type of duties to be levied on import or exports, at what rate they are to be levied, on what goods or services it is to be levied, will all be specified in Customs Tariff Act of 1975. Customs Tariff Act of 1975 ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹಾಕಬೇಕಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ಗಳೆಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾರಿಫ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ದಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು type of customs duty and the rate of customs duty to be levied are specified under two schedules in the Customs Tariff Act. Schedule number 1 gives import tariff. Schedule number 2 provide export tariff. Schedule number 1 import tariff. Schedule number 2 export tariff. Import tariff means the goods which are subject to be import duties. Import tariff represents the goods which are liable to be taxed under import duties, the rate of duties, classification of goods, everything will be specified in schedule number 1, import tariff. Schedule number 2, export tariff, provides provisions relating to goods liable to be treated under export duties. ಯಾವ ಗೂಡ್ಸಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಯಾವ ಗೂಡ್ಸಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. This is about Customs Tariff Act of 1975. And then central government is empowered. Central government has got a power to make certain rules as per the Customs Act of 1962 under section 156 relating to procedure to be followed by an importer or an exporter to determine the price at which the goods are being imported into India or from exported India, duty drawbacks, value of the baggage arrived along with a person traveling to India. These are all the certain rules made by central government under section 156 of the Customs Act of 1962. So rules under section 156 says about the procedure to be followed in the determination of price, duty drawbacks, value of the baggage arriving along with a traveler to India. ಒಂದು ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಇನ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಬ್ಯಾಗೇಜಿನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಪರ್ ದಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ 1962 ಅಂಡರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ 156 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದಷ್ಟು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ದೀಸ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ. ದೆನ್ regulations under section 157 of the Customs Act of 1962. Regulations under Customs Act of 1962 under section 157. So regulations under section 157 of the Customs Act says about the Central Board for Indirect Taxes and Customs makes certain rules generally to carry out the purpose of the main act, that is Customs Act of 1962. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೇನ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿನ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂಡರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ 157 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದಷ್ಟು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ರಿಲೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವೆಸಲ್ಸ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವೆಸಲ್, boat note regulations and some others. Here a manifest means what we do. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟೀಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ನ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದಷ್ಟು ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಏನದು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಪವರ್, ಅವರು ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ವೆಲ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ, ಸೊಸೈಟಿಯ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ, ಸೊಸೈಟಿಯ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಎಕಾನಮಿಯ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾವು ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಆಶ್ವಾಸನೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋ ಆಫ್ ವೆಸಲ್. ಹಿಯರ್ a vessel means something which carries a goods. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ regulations under section 157 of the Customs Act ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. Then article 13 subsection 13 article 13 subsection 3 clause A of the Indian Constitution empowered the government to make notifications from time to time relating to classification of goods, treatment of import and export. And finally, circulars by the Central Board for Indirect Taxes and Customs under section 151A of the Customs Act of 1962. This is about a brief explanation, a brief knowledge that I have relating to source of customs law. In the present day, the customs duty will always be determined by following the above stated act, enactment, notifications and circulars by every importer and exporter. Now let us move on to the next topic called nature of customs duty. See, section 12 subsection 1 of the Customs Act is called charging section. Here I will just brief it out. A charging section is something which gives an explanation regarding when a tax is levied, on what a tax is levied, at or how much it is levied, who will levy it. A charging section will say about when the tax is levied, on what it is levied, who is liable to levy the tax, how much tax is being levied. ಯಾವಾಗ, ಯಾವುದರ ಮೇಲೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು, ಯಾರು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ಗೆ ಚಾರ್ಜಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂಡರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ 12 subsection 1 of the Customs Act, it says that customs duties are levied at such rate as may be specified under the Customs Tariff Act of 1975 or any other law for the time being in force on goods imported into India or exported from India by the central government. So ಇದನ್ನ summarize ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ, charging section under Customs Act says that customs duties are levied by the central government at the rate specified in the Customs Tariff Act of 1975 or any other act for the time being in force. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಲಾನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ goods imported or exported from India ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾನು ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ, when the tax is levied, when the goods are imported or exported from India, who will levy it? Central government is empowered to levy the customs duty. At what rate? At the rate specified in the Customs Tariff Act of 1975 or any other act. This is about the nature of customs duty under section 12 subsection 1 as per the charging section. So I have just listed out a few elements with regard to the customs duties characteristics. First thing, I'll just be quick in explaining these topics. It is an indirect tax. As you all aware that customs duty is an indirect tax because it is paid by an importer or an exporter, but the burden will be transferred to ultimate consumer. The customs duty is levied on an importer or an exporter, but the ultimate burden of the tax will be passed on to final consumer. So customs duty is an indirect tax. Customs duty is levied by central government. Only the central government, union government, has got powers as per the Constitution of India to levy the customs duty. None of the state government has any power to decide on customs duty. The Indian Constitution has empowered only central government to levy the customs duties in India. A customs duty will be levied on goods only. So here it is very important. On services, there are no customs duties in India. A customs duty will always be levied only when a goods is imported or exported from India. Fourth thing, customs duty is payable on re-import. Re-import means import of goods which had previously been exported from that country. Import of any good which has been previously exported by that country. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನು ಯಾವ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀನೋ ಅದೇ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ರೀಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. To simplify the meaning of re-import, take an example. In India, we have a huge mineral resources. ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮಿನರಲ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿವೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಐರನ್ ಓರ್ ಸಹ ಒಂದು. We will extract iron ore from the soil due to some reasons, due to lack of technology, due to lack of manpower or something. The iron ore which is being extracted from the soil in India will be exported to some other country. So what we have exported from India? Iron ore, maybe to Japan. So being an Indian, I have extracted iron ore from the soil and sent to Japan as an export. Thereafter, I will be importing iron balls, iron rods from Japan to India. So who sent iron ore? We the Indians. Who is importing iron ball? Again we the Indians. So the goods which are being imported are previously exported by us only. ನಾವೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವೇ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬರುವಂತಹದಕ್ಕೆ ರೀಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಫ್ರೀ ರೀಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. When you have imported a goods, you might have certain mistakes or fault or defect in the product. For that you may have got a replacement from your exporter. Even on free replacement, free samples that you have got, customs duties are levied. See here, when a commodity crosses the geographical boundaries of a country for any reason, customs duties are levied. That's why we call customs duty is payable on re-import, free replacement, and even free samples also. And goods must be dutiable goods. Here, Dutiable goods means the goods which are subject to customs duty, but duty has not yet been paid. The goods which are subject to levy of customs duty, but not yet paid. Customs ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯನ್ನ ಹಾಕೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲಿಜಿಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹದ್ದು, ಆದರೆ ಆ ಗೂಡ್ಸಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯನ್ನ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂತಹವುಗಳನ್ನ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯಬಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ದಿ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ is applicable to the whole country India. The law of customs duty is applicable to entire India, and at last duties are usually at ad valorem rates. Duties are usually ad valorem rates. An ad valorem rate means any rate applicable on the value of the goods, price of the goods. So in India, the customs duties are applicable, payable at a rate on the as a percentage of the price of the goods. When the duties are payable as a percentage of price of the goods, they are called ad valorem rates. So let us move on to the next topic called objectives of customs duty. Here the objectives is something which says about the purpose, the need and the necessity to levy the customs duty in India. Customs duty ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕುವಂತಹ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು objectives of customs duty ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಬಹುದು. The first one will be to raise revenue to the central government. Central or union government need money to run the country by providing various facilities to the people of the nation. So the customs duty is one of the source, one of the way through which they can get the money what is required for looking after the need of the people of the country. Second thing, to restrict import to preserve foreign exchange. When a goods is imported, we have to make payment in a foreign currency. So in order to ensure balance of payment and balance of trade, sufficient foreign exchange reserves are essential. If the goods are imported more and more, then it might cause the problem of balance of payment and balance of trade. So in order to solve the problem of balance of trade and balance of payment, more and more foreign reserves are required. That can be ensured by putting restrictions on the import of goods. So we can have more foreign exchange reserve when the imports are restricted. So to restrict the import, customs duty is levied. Third one, to regulate exports. To regulate export, here the regulation means controlling as per the plans, something like that. To regulate export, to protect Indian industry from dumping. Here dumping means sale of any commodity at a price lower than the price in the home country. Sale of any commodity by a company in another nation at a price lower than the price in home country. Say for example, America is a well-developed country. India is a developing country. So an American company may adopt a policy to sell goods in India at a price lesser than the price of the same commodity in America. That is called dumping. So to protect Indian industry from dumping, ಆ ತರ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಡಂಪ್ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ, ಟು ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಮಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್, customs laws are made to prevent, to avoid smuggling. ಸ್ಮಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಗಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಲಾಗಳ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇದೆ. ಟು ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ certain goods to achieve policy objectives of the government. In order to achieve the governmental policy in a country during a specified period of time, it need certain goods to be traded in India only. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟಿನ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಗಳನ್ನ, ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳಿಸೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬರೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಲಾನ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ಟು ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ಅಚೀವ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಗವರ್ನಮೆಂಟ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಅಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟು ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಫೈನ್ಸ್, ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟೀಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎನಿ ಅಫೆನ್ಸಸ್ commenced by a person in trading across international borders. ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂತಹ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಕೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಲಾಗಳ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ. ನೌ ಲೆಟ್ us ಮೂವ್ ಆನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಮೇನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೇಜರ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ taxability under Customs Act. Taxability under Customs Act says about under what circumstances the duties of customs are actually levied in India at present. I have made it 3 columns: a particular, import, export, goods and services. When you import goods and services, there may be different circumstances. Import of goods attracts customs duty as per the Customs Tariff Act of 1975 plus integrated goods and services tax as per the GST. So import of goods attract customs duty and IGST both, whereas when the goods are exported, no duties of customs are levied. When the goods are exported, no duties of customs are levied and they are treated as zero rated goods. An export of goods will be treated as the zero rated goods. And when it comes to services, when you import a service, no customs duty but IGST is levied. On import of services, no customs duty, only IGST is being levied. On export of services, no IGST, no customs duty. So when I summarize this table, duties of customs are leviable only on import of goods. It is not levied on export of goods, export of services, import of services. ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದರ ಮೇಲೂ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಬರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ಓನ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ. Therefore, the taxable event, the circumstances under which the customs duty is levied, is classified into 3 categories. That is, when the goods crosses the customs frontier and mix up with the land mass of India. The first circumstance, the first taxable event under the customs law is when any goods crosses the customs frontier and mix up with the land mass of India. Here, customs frontier means a limit of the area of customs station, a limit of the area of the customs station defined in section 2 of the Customs Act, where the imported goods are ordinarily kept before clearance for consumption. Section 2 of the Customs Act defines the place where the goods are to be kept before clearance. ಒಂದು ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾವ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ 2 ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. The limit of the customs station, the geographical limit of the customs station is called customs frontier. So when a goods crosses the customs frontier and mix up with the land mass, on such goods customs duties are levied. Second thing, in case imported goods are warehoused when they are cleared for home consumption. In case of imported goods warehoused, imported goods ಅನ್ನ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಗೆ ಕೊಡದಿರ ವೇರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದರೆ ಡ್ಯೂಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಲೆವಿಡ್ at the time of clearance for home consumption, when they are being handed over to the final consumer, then the duties of customs are levied. Finally, in certain cases of export, ಕೆಲವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ when the goods crosses territorial waters of India, ಟೆರಿಟೋರಿಯಲ್ ವಾಟರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋದರೆ ಆಗ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಗಳನ್ನ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಬಲ್ ಈವೆಂಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಎನಿ ಗೂಡ್ crosses the customs frontier and mix up with the land mass of India, when any imported goods kept in the warehouse is cleared for home consumption, and in certain case of export when they crosses territorial waters of India. Under these circumstances, duties of customs are levied. Here, one term that we have come across is territorial waters of India. Territorial water means from the baseline of India up to 12 nautical miles into the sea. Indian baseline ಇಂದ ಸಮುದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ 12 nautical miles ವರೆಗೂ we call it territorial waters of India. From the baseline up to 12 nautical miles into the sea is called territorial waters of India. Here, 1 nautical mile will be equal to 1.85 kilometers. This for just a general knowledge. 1 nautical mile equals to 1.85 kilometers. As like Indian territorial waters, we also have another term called customs waters. A custom water includes contiguous zone under section 5, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and other maritime zone act. Customs water includes contiguous zone under section 5, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and other maritime zone act, which means baseline in the up to 100 nautical miles territorial waters. From the territorial waters extended into another 12 nautical miles. ಈಗ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಬೇಸ್ ಲೈನ್ ಇಂದ ಅಪ್ ಟು 12 ನಾಟಿಕಲ್ ಮೈಲ್ಸ್ ಟೆರಿಟೋರಿಯಲ್ ವಾಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 12 ನಾಟಿಕಲ್ ಮೈಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಪ್ ಟು 200 ನಾಟಿಕಲ್ ಮೈಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಸಿ, ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಂದ ಇನ್ನೂ ಮುಂದೆ 200 ನಾಟಿಕಲ್ ಮೈಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕ್ಲೂಸಿವ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಝೋನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರೀಬಹುದು. An exclusive economic zone is an area in the sea where we can engage in certain economic transactions like oil extraction, mineral extraction, construction of artificial islands, and some others. It is all called customs water. And in today's class, I will wind up with a last topic called definition of few things which are very important in the determination of customs duty. One is goods. Goods includes a vessel, a aircraft, a vehicle, stores, baggage, currency, and negotiable instrument. A vessel, a container where the goods are kept for transported. An aircraft, a vehicle, a lorry, bus or something. Stores, some indirect materials. Baggage, goods arriving along with a person traveling to a country. Currency, negotiable instruments like promissory notes, bill of exchange, letter of credit, and any other movable property. See, the goods have been defined as anything movable and marketable are defined as goods. So under Customs Act, a goods means anything movable and marketable is a goods. Dutiable goods are any goods which are leviable to custom duty, but the duty has not yet been paid. Customs duty ಅನ್ನ ಹಾಕಬಹುದು, ಆದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನು ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯಬಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್, ಎನಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಎ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಬಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹೋಮ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್. ಎನಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ brought into India from a place outside India but not cleared for home consumption. ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೋಮ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಗೆ ಕ್ಲಿಯರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಒನ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್. ವೆನ್ ದಿ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ to a place outside India. ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. These are all the few topics that I would like to share with you, and in my next video I will be discussing on the determination of customs duty in case of import of goods. And in this video I had a brief and elaborate discussion on certain basic theoretical concepts of customs duty. After watching this video, if you feel that this video has given some knowledge about the basic framework of customs duty, kindly encourage with your feedback in the form of like, share or subscribing to my YouTube channel, and Keep watching my YouTube channel for more and more videos to extend your knowledge on various educational topics. Thank you.